Rob, very interesting situation in Indianapolis where, of course, Caitlin Clark was the number 1 pick of the WNBA draft. She will go to the Indiana Fever. And at her introductory press conference in Indiana, there was some controversy with Gregg Doyel, who's a longtime columnist at the Indianapolis Star. And Rob G, give us kind of a little bit more of the background, and then we're going to hear some sound.
Sure. Well, before we get to the specific controversial point, before this was even done, Gregg Doyel at the press conference again introduced Caitlin Clark, asked a question of Indiana Fever coach Christine Sides. And his question was, you were just given the keys to that, and pointed at Caitlin Clark. What are you going to do with it? People kind of thought that was a little weird way to phrase it, but they moved on. Later on, Doyle is asking another question, this one to Caitlin Clark, and before he starts his question, he makes his hands in the shape of a heart, the heart hands thing, that's the emoji you see on your phone nowadays. DeMar Hamlin does it, and Caitlin Clark does it to her family during every Iowa game, usually at the end. Well, listen to this exchange and tell me what you think of it.
Hi, Caitlin. Gregg Doyel, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well, let's start doing it to me and we'll be able to get along just fine. So, question is.
Chris.
Go ahead, Rob.
Just totally inappropriate. Just like you're a columnist, right? In the town. I get it's Indianapolis. It was awkward. That's why it came off that way. He's doing a heart to her. I don't think, Chris, if there was a female columnist who did that to a player who was going to play for the people would be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what he was trying to do, trying to be too cute, trying to be too much. I'm surprised. Gregg Doyel, didn't he work at Yahoo too, Chris? Where was he?
I'm not sure.
He was Rob G. Was he at Yahoo? He was on a national platform as well.
No, he's a big time.
No, right. But I'm saying,
I've read several of his
yeah.
columns.
But I'm saying,
really good.
he had a national platform as well.
Yes.
He was at CBS, Chris, and wrote there, and then came back to Indianapolis. I don't know. It just felt awkward and inappropriate to me.
I mean, you're right. If a female said to LeBron James,
yes,
did a heart sign, and
she would probably be
fired. If you do that to me, we'll be good. I mean,
Chris,
the whole, and I guess on Twitter you're hearing he's getting criticized, and he actually ended up, Rob, writing a retraction column. It's here's the title of it. Caitlin Clark, I'm so sorry. On Wednesday, I was part of the problem. And he was. But just the first thing Rob G told us, you just been given that.
Right.
What are you going to do with it? Now, look, Rob, a lot of times we refer to, he's a beast, right? Embiid was a monster last night. And, so if people want to criticize that and, but now it's accepted. It's a figure of speech. People know what you mean. I think years ago, Rob, decades ago, maybe when you were saying, if you said that about an African-American player, people took umbrage, but now obviously it's kind of an innocent, figure of speech. And actually kind of it's a compliment, but I don't know if I'm overreacting, but it objectifies her, not in a sexual way, but it objectifies her, and
I got
that. What do you know what I mean? Rather than you just been,
and then people say that
I don't know if he even meant it negatively, but you know what I mean? It came off that way.
But it means like you've been given the keys to this sports car. You know what I mean? So that's what you call it.
Objectifying.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And it just, but Chris, don't you think? And again, I get it. It's Indianapolis. They have one newspaper. He's the big dog.
That was actually the first newspaper. Well, I was an intern there right
Where,
out
at the
of college.
Star?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the Indianapolis Star. I was their first African-American employee other than like a secretary.
Are you serious? Ever?
Yeah.
What
Yes.
year was that?
1990. And I was just an intern. They did offer me a job, but I went to the Cleveland Plain Dealer instead. But
That's crazy.
yeah,
But
the secretary was wearing mini skirts too. That's like
wow.
The news had a black writer. There was Indianapolis Star and the News. You remember that?
Yeah, the Indianapolis News.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Chris. I just think he was trying to be too cute and become a part of the press conference. It ain't about you that day. It ain't.
Now, do you think he was trying to be a part? I agree that he was trying to be too cute, but you actually think he was like trying to become a part of kind of the story?
Well, because he's injecting himself in it. You know what I mean? Like all these things are about him. Hey, if you do this to me, we'll be good. Hey, like it just seemed like he was trying too hard. Like there's a time in the play. God knows, Chris, I've asked some questions in press conferences. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Yes.
God knows. And it wasn't about me. I was trying to get a quote. I really was, Chris. I really, really was. It wasn't about me.
Well, in this case, I think, Rob, and again, the criticism on Twitter, some of it, Rob, you correct me if I'm wrong, but some of it was like, you're treating women's sports like it's not legitimate. And when I, heard the story about what he said, I was like, okay, I don't know if he's doing that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But when you
that,
listen,
right.
Look, when you listen to that excerpt, it did come off that way. It came off like, here's the cute little girl, and I don't even mean in a sexual way, but here's the cute little women's players. Oh, I'm gonna play around with, like Pat, like you do to a little kid, patting them on the head.
Without being serious about, like, this is her NBA career and all
if
that.
I'm interviewing little 9-year-olds and, hey, what'd you think, about
how neat was
playing
that?
in this stadium today?
Wow,
like, that's what it came off to me like. And I think some people have been critical on Twitter and said this is why women's sports isn't as popular as men. No, stop that.
Right.
This is not why women's sports is not as popular as men. All right. It's just, that's not it. All right. But it did come off, Rob, like he was patting her on the head, so to speak, or it's the little, dude, they play basketball too. They're so cute when they play and, you wouldn't do that to a man, right?
No. And Chris, am I right? If it was a female reporter doing that, it would be questionable. Her credibility would be questioned, Chris. And here's another chick in the locker room. They just want to be around the guys and find a husband.
And you know this, Rob. There have been instances of, female reporters getting in relationships with
Dr.
players.
J had a baby with one of the writers to cover the
from
team.
the New York Times.
Right.
And she was a tennis player. His daughter became a great tennis player.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything blatant. Even when, I've been around situations where I knew some stuff happened, but I've never seen anything like that, right? It was always a way, you know what I mean, Rob? I've never seen, like, even in a scrum in the locker room, I've never seen a female, maybe you have, I haven't seen a female ask a question like that or flirt, like, you know what I mean? Like, or I haven't seen that.
Hey, we got this was from Jamel Hill. It's a part of her exchange, I guess.
You former Twitter.
Formerly Twitter. Quote, I said this some time ago, but another upside to Caitlin Clark's popularity is that it is going to finally force sports media to grow up. Sports media has been extremely complicit in marginalizing and what is that?
Infantilizing.
Is that it? Infantilizing. Okay, thank you. Women's sports. So there's like, what is that? Making it like babyish?
Yeah,
is that
like
what it is?
baby,
Okay.
just kind of
what you
I
were
was
talking
saying,
about being okay. So that was Jamel Hill on this.
I mean, Rob, I gotta be honest. I've never. Now look, I'm a man. Maybe I gotta be honest. I don't think a ton about sexism. I know it exists, and I don't want it to exist, but I don't think about it as much as I think of like racism. As a male, that's probably a male privilege thing. But I've never thought of it like that, but this did come off like that to me. I've never thought that men have done that to female sports, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we have. But in this case, that's definitely what it sounded like.
Yeah, you called it. I mean, that's what Jamel is saying as well. I just thought he came off really bad. It looked bad for him, and just he was doing too much. He was just doing too much.
Yeah. It really was infantilizing it, like Jamel said. I didn't even know she had tweeted that. Why, Rob? Like, why would you start off with that hard? I would not do that unless I wouldn't even do that with high school athletes. I would only think about, and I don't know that I'd ever do it, but the only time I can think it might be appropriate would be, Rob, to Jamel's point and the point I made earlier, if you're interviewing like little leaguers, you know what I mean? And you do it and, you were throwing up this symbol. Throw it up to me too. Like that type of thing. So it's exactly what Jamel said.
Crazy. And I just got to see what this whole thing with the WNBA and the expectations of it and Caitlin Clark and how this plays out. I definitely want to see how this thing plays out.
I think she just got, Rob G, a $20 million deal with Nike. Yeah, now Ionesco had gotten a $24 million deal. So that's not the largest, but yeah, $20 million deal with Nike. Good for her. Rob, I think it's going to come down to how she plays. If she balls out like I expect her to, I think she's going to lead to the league being much more popular. I think you're going to see her highlight, and not that you don't now. You see some highlights now on SportsCenter and things like that, but I think you're going to see much more of them. If she doesn't play well, then I think this could fade.
I just think it's, as I said before, it's the Harlem Globetrotters. People, the other WNBA games, people aren't going to be.
Yeah, but I mean, her by herself would lift the league. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting her games on, they're games against other players.
Yeah, but there's also other. She doesn't play, but there's 8 other games going on.
But that's not. It doesn't take every team in the league to have a huge boost in ratings for the league to get some positivity from her. I mean, when Magic and Bird came in, Rob, they played for 2 teams. They didn't play for all 24 teams or whatever it was at that time. But when they came in,
the NBA attendance wasn't 6,000.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to become the NBA. I'm just saying for their level, they're going to get us if she's great. Now, I'm saying if she doesn't play well, I don't think you'll see it. Initially you will, but it'll fade. But if she plays well, I think you'll see a boost relative to their sport. I'm not saying it's going to be on the NBA's level, ever.
Okay.
But I'm saying you will see a boost relative to their sport. So there's a lot of pressure riding on her shoulders.